All right, so buckle up, everybody, because today we're going way, way back. I mean, like before the history books, before the gods you learned about in school. We're talking about the very beginning, the ultimate origin story.
Exactly. Yeah. We're diving into these ancient myths that try to explain, well, how everything came to be. And let me tell you, they are wild.
Oh, yeah, we're talking cosmic drama,
Yeah.
strange creatures, epic battles, and some serious plot twists.
Yeah.
This isn't just like reading some dusty old text. It's more like experiencing a cosmic play, with all the theatrics and everything.
I like that. Yeah. A cosmic play. And our mission, if you choose to accept it, is to break down this creation myth. We'll unpack the key ideas like this idea of chaos at the very beginning and how, like, order even started to emerge from that.
Right, and we're definitely going to point out the weird stuff, the memorable moments, the stuff that really makes this origin story so unique. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. In the beginning, there was chaos.
And, what's really interesting right off the bat is how they describe this chaos. It's not just empty space, it's like the absence of form altogether, like total disorganization. It's like before you even have a messy room, you need the idea of a room, right? It's even before that.
Yeah, it's like you can't even call it an empty box because the concept of a box doesn't exist yet. It's really hard to wrap your head around.
It is. And then in the middle of this, well, not even nothingness, there's this disembodied voice. And it's almost like having an existential crisis before anything even exists to have a crisis about. Like, wait, who am I? What is this place?
It's a really cool detail, right? It just emphasizes how there are no definitions yet, not even of self.
Exactly. And this brings up like a fundamental question. What does it mean for something to exist? Before there were things, there was this like pure potential.
Right. And from this potential, we get the first beings. And, well, they're not exactly what you'd expect. We've got Nyx, who is night, and Erebus, who is darkness.
And I think it's important to highlight they weren't just the absence of light, they were the concept of night and darkness, like fundamental forces. So the next time you're out on a really, really dark night, you can think, hey, I'm feeling the presence of Erebus right now.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we've got these primordial forces of darkness,
Hmm.
and they don't seem to be doing a whole lot, right? It's still pretty, well, dark and undefined.
Yeah, it's like the universe's default setting was kind of gloomy,
Yeah.
But then things start to change with the arrival of Gaia.
Gaia, the earth. And let me tell you, she is a force of nature. Like, she bursts onto the scene and is just brimming with this creative energy, this desire to bring things into being.
Right. She's not just passively existing, she's actively shaping and forming the world. I always picture her like this cosmic gardener, tending to the universe and making it flourish.
Yeah, that's a great image. She's the one bringing order to the chaos, creating the physical structures of the world. And this idea of the Earth Mother, this nurturing, life-giving force, it's a theme you see in myths all over the world.
Absolutely. It's this fundamental concept of the earth as the source of all creation. And then we have Uranus, the sky, making his grand entrance.
And well, he's a bit of a character. Our sources describe him as, let's just say he's quite fond of himself, always admiring his own vastness, like a cosmic influencer.
And they really emphasize this image of him with a crown of lightning bolts that are constantly sparking and flashing. It's not just a calm blue sky, it's this powerful, dynamic, and maybe even a little dangerous presence.
Yeah, he's not just a pretty face, he's a force to be reckoned with. And together, Gaia and Uranus have, well, a lot of kids.
A lot. We're talking titans, cyclopes, hecaton chairs. These are huge, powerful beings, and there are a bunch of them.
It's like a cosmic baby boom.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Uranus is not exactly father of the year material.
Not even close. Instead of being proud of his offspring, he gets scared. He's worried they'll overthrow him, take his power, so he decides to imprison them.
Yeah, he locks them away in the depths of the earth. Talk about daddy issues. And of course, Gaia is not having any of it.
Oh no, she's furious. Imagine the mama bear instinct, but amplified to a cosmic scale. She's determined to free her children and get revenge on Uranus for what he's done.
And that's where the famous sickle comes in.
Yeah.
Our source is a little inconsistent about what it actually looked like.
Yeah.
At first, they describe it as this ridiculously oversized thing, like something out of a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
But then they go on to talk about this gleaming, razor-sharp weapon.
I kind of like that, though. It's like they're trying to figure out how to describe this incredibly important object, this tool of rebellion. And the rebellion itself is a pivotal moment, It's the first time we see someone standing up to this established power, this cosmic tyranny.
And it's not a pretty scene. Gaia convinces her son, Cronus, to do the deed. And the way they describe it, it's violent, there's a lot of blood, and our source even mentions this awful squelching sound.
Yeah, it's a very visceral, almost unsettling image. And from this act of violence, we get two really contrasting outcomes.
So first, we have the blood of Uranus that spills onto the earth, and from this blood, the Furies are born.
These are pretty intense figures. They're these relentless goddesses of vengeance, the embodiment of divine retribution. It's like the universe suddenly has an HR department for divine misconduct, making sure everyone follows the rules.
That's one way to put it. But then on the other hand, we have this beautiful, almost poetic moment from from what's left of Uranus after, that falls into the sea. Aphrodite is born.
The goddess of love and beauty. It's such a surprising contrast, and the image our source uses of her rising from the waves like a mermaid on a spa day is just so unexpected and memorable.
It's amazing, right? From this brutal act of violence comes this symbol of beauty and love. But okay, so Cronus is in charge now, and you'd think things would calm down, but
Well, Cronus inherited more than just the throne. He inherited his father's paranoia, that fear of being overthrown by his own children. It's like a cosmic version of those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it, you know?
it's a classic tale, right? The
Hmm.
cycle of power and fear. And Cronus takes things to a whole new level. He decides to swallow each of his children as soon as they're born.
Yeah, not exactly winning any Father of the Year awards either. You can imagine his wife, Rhea, is just beside herself. Our source suggests she probably thought he needed some serious therapy, and I mean, who could blame her?
Yeah, it's a pretty messed up situation. But Rhea's a smart cookie. She comes up with this plan to trick Cronus, and when Zeus is born, she gives Cronus a rock wrapped in swaddling clothes instead.
And apparently Cronus just like swallows it whole, doesn't even notice. And then our source mentions that he lets out this series of really loud hiccups. It kind of adds this element of almost slapstick humor to this otherwise pretty dark situation.
It does. But it's a crucial moment because it allows Zeus to survive. He's whisked away to the island of Crete and raised in secret. And the way they describe his upbringing is, well, it's pretty wild.
It's like a bizarre mix of like idyllic and just plain weird. There are nymphs who act as his cheerleaders, a goat with a really good agent who provides him with milk.
Yeah, then there's warriors who serenade him with, like, heavy metal lullabies. I mean, it's a really strange image, but it's so vivid, you know? It really sticks with you.
It does, and it shows this like playful side to these ancient stories. They're not always so serious and epic. Sometimes they're just kind of funny and strange.
Exactly. Okay, so Zeus grows up, and with the help of Metis, he concocts this potion that makes Cronus regurgitate his siblings.
You can imagine that family reunion was a little awkward.
Yeah, not your typical Thanksgiving dinner. But now, Zeus and his siblings are ready to take on Cronus and the other Titans. And that's where we get the big battle, the Titanomachy.
And this is where things get really interesting. Our source describes this epic war with a surprising amount of humor. There are exaggerated sound effects, slow motion moments, even some slapstick comedy thrown in.
It's not what you'd expect from a story about a battle for control of the universe.
Right. It's like they're deliberately trying to make it entertaining, even funny. The Cyclops, for instance, are depicted as these clumsy but well-intentioned giants, and even the Titans themselves are portrayed as kind of over-the-top and melodramatic.
I love that. It makes these larger-than-life figures seem more relatable. Like even gods can be clumsy and have a bad sense of humor.
Absolutely. But in the end, Zeus and the Olympians are victorious. They banish the Titans to Tartarus, this deep, dark abyss, and establish a new order.
It's the dawn of the age of the Olympian gods, the gods we know and love from all the classic myths. But as our source points out, even for gods, things aren't always smooth sailing. This victory just sets the stage for new dramas and conflicts.
Right. It shows that power dynamics are always shifting and changing, even in the divine realm.
So there you have it. We started with pure chaos, and we ended up with the Olympian order. We saw betrayals, strange births, epic battles, and a surprising amount of cosmic comedy along the way.
It's a wild ride, and what makes it so fascinating is that, in its own way, this myth is trying to grapple with the most fundamental questions about existence. Where did everything come from? How did order emerge from chaos? And why does there always seem to be this struggle for power?
Exactly. And by looking at these original sources, we get a glimpse into how ancient people tried to make sense of the world around them, and it's a lot more complex and nuanced than you might think.
It really is, and it leaves us with a question to ponder. If these early myths are filled with chaos and conflict, how do these themes continue to resonate in later stories, in our understanding of the world, even in our own lives? What does this primordial struggle tell us about the nature of creation and our own ongoing quest for balance and order? It's something to think about long after this deep dive is over.
Food for thought, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this journey back to the beginning of everything. Until next time.